Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. I saw you earlier today when we were talking about Tom De Koning. Now we are going to be talking about Christian Petracca and his now desire to go to Gold Coast. Now that's great for Christian, going to a really established team at the moment. They obviously just made their first finals and won their first final. They've got so many young players. They've got the Brownlow medalist. They've got a young superstar captain. They've got everything that you need. And Christian Petracca could be the thing that puts them over the edge, because he still has, despite a lot of people being down on him this year and last year, he still has some incredibly valuable qualities, some qualities that can take a team like Gold Coast from a really good team to a really, really, really good team, a genuine premiership contender. And then suddenly Queensland football is absolutely on fire. We do have a few things to cover. So firstly, Melbourne wanted him to essentially pick Gold Coast because they've got draft assets, they've got young players, they've got established players, they've got players that are probably going to have to be squeezed out. Christian plays an interesting position, players like Alex Davies, who's just moved into that midfield, players like Tuke Miller, Bailey Humphrey. These sort of players are going to probably be pushed down the pecking order if Petracca does come in. And I know Gold Coast is saying that they want to keep Bailey Humphrey, they want to keep Alex, they want to keep these players. You've sort of got to give up players if you want to bring in a player like Christian Petracca, because, as I said, he's an established great player in our game. He's an established, really good contributor. He's just been on a relatively disappointing team. And one of his most valuable assets to Gold Coast, I think, is going to be his forward craft. Now, we know him as a clearance player, as a midfield player, but this year he did play a lot of time up forward, and I just want you to watch his forward craft. Now, this doesn't seem like a lot. This doesn't seem like a crazy thing to be doing, but Bailey Humphrey is an extremely good one-on-one defender. But the way that Christian gets himself free for what ends up being an uncontested mark here is actually just his presence. So Euland knows that he's got speed, he's got power. He knows that he can go back and play as a genuine crumbing forward if the ball does come in long. But Christian's knowledge of body positioning and spacing, and understanding that if he leads just slightly up this way, Euland's going to be able to cut that off. So if he's got to lead certain patterns, this is forward recognition, this is speed, this is power. So it's a tick lead. And he's still got his eyes towards the target here. So he never fully turns his head until he knows exactly where he's going to go. And it seems like such a small thing. It seems like such a minute detail, but even right now, getting into the blind spot of Bailey Humphrey, so that when he makes this move back up at the football, Humphrey doesn't have the time to process it, and as soon as he's able to do that, Humphrey's not looking, he's in the blind spot. Christian Petracca can lead back up at the football, and that's what creates the space to get this uncontested mark inside forward 50. That's genuine forward craft. And when you can mix that genuine forward craft with genuine forward spacing, understanding of the soft spots in the zone here, so being able to get behind closely, being able to get to the side of Mac Andrew here, who's playing as the spare defender, but not only find the soft parts of this zone defense by Gold Coast, but actively the power to brush off one of the best midfielders in the league in Noah Anderson, go forward and kick a goal. Those are things that you can't necessarily teach to a midfielder. Midfielders either have that ability or they don't have that ability. Midfielders can break tackles, they can kick goals, but midfielders can't usually break tackles, kick goals, and have the forward craft that we saw in that first lead-up. So he's a genuine dual threat as a clearance player and as a forward. Mind you, who's this good-looking rooster on the Fox coverage, on the KO coverage? Who's that? Who's that on the microphone just having a good old yarn with Brad Johnson pre-game? Who's that guy? But despite that, the value for Gold Coast here is that they get a genuine match winner, someone that they can rely on to put in a big performance in big games. And we understand he is a Norm Smith medalist. He's a big game performer. He's a game-changing type of footballer. And I can understand from Christian's perspective why he wants to go to Gold Coast. They're right in the premiership window. He could be one of the inaugural players to win a premiership for Gold Coast. He's been wanting to get out of Melbourne for what seems like years at this point, and Melbourne have just been defining keeping them there. Obviously, Melbourne are going through a shift right now. So from both sides, you can understand why Gold Coast is the right option for both Melbourne and Christian, and why Gold Coast want Christian. The sticking point here is going to be, who does Gold Coast give up to get Christian Petracca in? Because if you're bringing in a player of that caliber, a player that Melbourne could sell to them, that Gold Coast just sold to them, that Gold Coast has sold the dream to Petrarca that he's going to be a game changer, a potential premiership player. Well, if you're selling that Christian's going to have that sort of impact, then the whatever is coming back to Melbourne better match that. And we're hearing reports now that Bailey Humphrey, Sam Flanders has met with Melbourne. I'm not sure that would be even close to enough to trade straight up for Christian Petracca. Bailey Humphrey may be in the mix at the moment. He seems to be meeting with Melbourne clubs at the moment. And if you're Melbourne, if I'm Melbourne, the number one person in this trade period that I would be trying to get is Bailey Humphrey, because he is a genuine star. He is what Christian Petracca is 6, 7, 8 years ago. We are talking about the midfielder, the mid forward, the impact strike player, the power mid that can push forward. We're talking about a bloke that can do things like this out of the centre bounce. So you go from Matt Rao kicking inside forward 50, but it's not about the kick, it's not about the clearance. We're talking about Bailey Humphrey here in a one-on-one with a genuine fullback. We are talking about a genuinely sized fullback here, and his ability to push Harrison Petty out of the way to get really good position. This is genuine forward craft and strength and power against a fully grown fullback, a premiership player in Harrison Petty, and protect the drop zone, go back with courage, not knowing what's coming at your back right now, and take that contested mark. That is an unbelievable situation to put yourself in if you're Bailey Humphrey. I feel like I could show 1,000 clips of Bailey Humphrey just showing signs of being the next Christian Petracca type player, the next Jordan De Goey type player. But this is probably the one that just sticks in my brain, and it's against Geelong. So look at the work around centre bounce here. It's Humphrey versus Max Holmes at this centre clearance. And his ability to play clearance, to play as an inside mid, to get genuine clearance. But what he does is what Jordan De Goey does, what Christian Petracca does. And that's on the outside of the contest, pushing forward inside the forward 50. So his ability and his football nous to push forward, his forward craft allows him into situations like this, where he does push forward from clearance, and he's able to take Max Holmes on, and then he's able to finish in front of goal from 45, 50 metres out. Those are, again, things you can't necessarily teach him, right? And we've seen him take contested marks, and we've seen him work around clearance. All he really has to do now is add that element of stamina to his game, his ability, his endurance side of the game, his ability to run out games as a genuine midfielder. But if you're Gold Coast, is it worth trading what you have under your fingernails right now on a 3-year contract, or at least with 3 years left of his contract, the next Christian Petracca for a current Christian Petracca who's 30 years old, who might still have, 3, 4, 5 years of good football in him, but Bailey Humphrey might have 10 years of that style, that level of good football. So if you're just trading out a young Christian Petracca, I know I'm putting a lot of weight on Bailey Humphrey here, but I genuinely do see him as a young Christian Petracca. Is it worth trading that out for an aging Christian Petracca? But if you're Melbourne, that's the perfect swap. You get you get a Victorian kid back to Melbourne, and you replace Christian Petracca with just a young version of Christian Petracca. I mean, so I can see why Gold Coast want Christian Petracca, but I don't see why they would give up Bailey Humphrey. But then I don't see why Melbourne would take anything other than a Bailey Humphrey type, and probably more. So this is going to be a really sticking point in the negotiations going forward. Maybe Picks gets it done, but if you're Gold Coast, I think you're in a really good position, so long as you keep a player like Bailey Humphrey, if all of that makes sense. But I can understand why Gold Coast want Christian Petracca. I can understand why Christian Petracca wants to go to Gold Coast. I just don't know how they're going to get this deal done if it doesn't involve Bailey Humphrey. Because if I'm Melbourne, the sticking point is going to be we are trying to convince Bailey Humphrey to come to our football club. And realistically, if we don't get that, then we're probably not going to be doing it. But let me know your thoughts on the Christian Petracca trade, and we'll see what happens when everything gets out in the wash over the next couple of weeks. Please feel free to stick around and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video, which will probably be in like 15 minutes. Cheers.